I still smell bleach anytime I see a trailhead sign in the Pacific Northwest. We went off trail in Gifford Pinchot for chanterelles, me and my brother. That was his idea. He'd watched some smug guy on YouTube pull mushrooms out of moss like free money and decided we could do that too. We stepped off the marked trail just a little, him in front, me behind, both of us pretending we knew what we were doing. We weren't far, maybe half a mile, and he kept saying I was being dramatic about getting lost. I checked my phone every couple minutes anyway, watching the little blue arrow spin. 1 second, I had 2 bars. The map tried to load, and then the bars dropped to 0 and the battery died in the same breath. Screen went black and stayed black. The rain came in sideways, hard, like it had been waiting for that moment. The forest went from hike to problem fast. The trail disappeared behind us. Everything turned into slick roots and ferns. Every tree looked like the last, every stump the same shape. I tried to spot our footprints and just saw mud. We argued, loud, pointless. I said we should turn back the way we came. He said, that is the way we came. I told him he always did this, just charged in and expected the world to cooperate. He told me I lived on my phone, and that's why I freaked out without it. We both talked bigger than we felt because the truth was the forest suddenly felt way too big and we felt way too small. Then we heard the knocking. It came through the rain, 3 slow hits. Not woodpecker stuff, not that jittery rattle. This was knuckles on a door, somewhere ahead and downhill. The sound had weight. It stopped us mid-argument like someone hit mute. He cupped his hands and yelled, "Hey, we're lost." Because of course he did. That's who he is. Just throws his voice out there to whoever's listening. No answer, just rain and the cold noise of the trees. Then another set of 3. Closer. Same rhythm, like whoever was took a few steps toward us and tried again. We looked at each other. I shook my head. He shrugged like, what else are we gonna do? And my body went along with him even while my gut screamed no. We followed it because the human brain is fucking dumb when it's desperate and hears something that sounds like help. The slope got steeper, slicker. My foot slid out once and I went down on my hands. Cold mud filled the space between my fingers. Somewhere in there the knocking stopped, but by then we could see a weird flash of color through the trees, too straight to be natural. The first thing I saw was the blue tarp. Not a neat campsite tarp, a sagging roof tied to trees, bellied with rainwater, over a pit of black trash bags and 5-gallon buckets. The color looked wrong in the green, like a bruise. There was a fire ring, still warm, a faint red deep in the ash. A truck battery sat under a log, wires running up to a car headlamp dangling from branch. The bulb was dead, but it still pointed down like a spotlight waiting to flip on. Then the hooks. Meat hooks bolted into a crossbeam. Thick, heavy, stained a dark color that had been half scrubbed away, lighter streaks where someone had worked hard at it and given up. The bleach smell hit next, sharp enough to sting my eyes. Big open jug by a plastic kiddie pool full of cloudy water. A mound of zip ties beside it like spilled candy. A shovel leaned on a tree, handle worn smooth where hands had gripped it over and over. Nothing about it said camp. My brother finally shut up. His face went flat. "We need to go," he whispered, like the words might trigger something. Before we could move, we heard an engine down below us, on some old logging road we hadn't seen. Low, grinding, steady. The sound of someone who knew every bend and pothole. We dropped without even talking about it, straight into the wet ferns behind the tarp. I felt mud soak through my jeans and up my shirt. My heart thumped so hard my vision jittered. Headlights pushed through the trees, then washed over the blue tarp. The camp lit up in this dull, underwater glow. The truck stopped close. Engine idled. Door creaked. Boots hit mud. Slow steps. No rus. Then this thin sound floated up, wrong against the motor noise. A whimper. It was an animal. It had a shape to it, like it was trying to be a word. My stomach turned to ice. He hadn't come back alone. We stayed pressed into the ground while he dragged whoever it was under the tarp. I heard fabric scrape. Something soft hit something hard. Rope sliding on metal. A muffled please that cut off too quick. I don't care how tough you think you are. Hearing that when you're 10 feet away, an invisible breaks something in your head. My body just surrendered. I pissed myself and barely registered it past the shaking. My brother tensed like he was about to bolt or stand up or do something heroic and suicidal. I grabbed his wrist and squeezed so hard, I felt tendons shift. If he moved, we were done. That was the whole calculation. There was no help that person and maybe survive. There was stay invisible or join them. Metal clanged. Hooks maybe. Buckets maybe. The truck idled. Wet, choking, then nothing. Just the sound of him moving around and breathing like this was another job on a list. At one point, he stepped out from under the tarp to smoke. I watched his shadow first, then the outline of him. Pine jacket, hat, broad shoulders. Not some movie freak. Just a guy. Average size, normal stance. The kind of man you'd see at a gas station and forget in 5 seconds. That scared me more than any mask would have. He flicked his cigarette toward the brush. The ember spun and landed so close it kissed my boot, hissed out in the wet leather. My whole body locked. If he'd taken 2 more lazy steps, he would have stepped on my arm. Eventually the truck cut off. Tailgate slammed. Something heavy scraped, then a dull thump like a weight dropped into the back. I couldn't tell if he was loading or unloading. Couldn't tell if there was one body or 2 or none. I just knew the smell of bleach felt thicker, like it crawled up into my nose and stayed. Time got weird after that. We lay there in the dark, in the rain, in our own stink, waiting for another door slam, another engine start, another footstep. Nothing came. The forest noises crept back in, bit by bit, until the truck and the tarp and the hooks felt like a dream I was scared to wake up from. We crawled uphill without standing, using roots and rocks, dragging ourselves like we'd forgotten how to walk. Every broken twig sounded like a gunshot to me. I kept expecting a shout behind us, a flashlight beam, the crunch of a boot. Nothing. Just the forest, huge and uncaring. When we hit a service road, it felt wrong to stand up and walk like normal people. My knees shook when I straightened them. My phone stayed dead. I jammed it back in my pocket like an apology. My brother's screen lit. 1 bar. That single thin line might as well have been a lifeboat. He called 911. His voice shook so hard the dispatcher kept asking him to slow down, repeat our location. He tried to explain about the hooks and the bleach and the sounds. I watched his face while he talked and realized he already knew nobody on the other end would feel what we'd felt. By the time search and rescue took us back down there, the tarp was still there, but it looked like a clean plate. Hooks gone, buckets empty, bleach jug missing, fire ring cold, coal scattered. Just fresh tire tracks on the logging road and a few long drag marks smoothed out half-assed in the mud. No body, no blood they admitted to seeing. Nothing that screamed crime, just weird if you wanted to keep your job simple. The cop who took our statements looked more bored than anything. Wet hat hair, lines under his eyes. He kept glancing at the dark. His pen barely moved. When we finished, he closed a notebook and said, "We get a lot of weird shit out here, like the forest itself was the problem, not the person using it." Then he told us to stick to marked trails and drove off. Back home, I tried to sleep and kept hearing that muffled please right as it cut off. A week later, I finally searched for missing hiker Gifford Pinchot, and results flooded the screen. Too many faces, too many gaps where the story just ended at a trailhead. I slammed the laptop shut before I clicked any of them. I didn't want to line a face up with that sound in my head. Now, every time I pass a trail sign up here, I catch bleach that isn't there. My heart jumps like I'm back on my stomach in the mud, listening to boots in the rain. I know how easy it is to step 3 feet off a safe path and turn into someone's inventory. If you ever step just off the trail, out here, remember someone might see that as free inventory. Whoever owned that tarp camp, let's not fucking meet. I rented the cabin because it was cheap and had no neighbors for a mile in the listing. That was a lie. There was one neighbor, and he was exactly 1 mile downriver. Western Washington, near Forks. Trees, gray sky, mud, a brown strip of river chewing at the bank. I wasn't there for some spiritual reset. I was pissed at my life, burned out, and too broke for anything nicer. I told my sister the general area, not the exact spot, because the idea of being unfindable felt good. That still makes me sick. First night, I learned the river wasn't background noise. It roared. It pushed through the walls. I lay on that sag bed and felt it in my ribs. No soothing nature sounds, just constant pressure. Every creak of the cabin sounded like a footstep. I checked the front door twice, then the back door, then did it again. I knew I looked crazy even though no one was there to see it. In the morning, I bullied myself into pretending I liked it. Made coffee, walked onto the deck, told myself, "You want to know neighbors, here you go." That's when I saw the footprints. Bare feet in the mud below the deck. Wide toe splayed. Too big to be mine, too small to be some myth. They came up from the river, looped around the cabin, then went back down the same way. A slow circle around where I'd been sleeping. The edges were sharp, not old. I stood there with my mug cooling in my hand and fed myself excuses. Drunk fisherman, owner, random hiker. None of it really fit, but I forced it anyway because the alternative was somebody walked around my cabin at night barefoot while I snored 5 meters away and never knew. I went back inside and locked the door again, like that did anything after the fact. Around noon, he showed up. No car sound, no warning, just a shape on the deck. Then the knob turned and the door swung in because I hadn't slid the chain. Middling height, camo jacket, beard with crumbs stuck in it. He smelled like sweat and cigarettes and old clothes. "You the girl from the city?" he said. "No hello." Just that. I said yeah, gripping the mug too tight, and asked if he was the owner. He snorted, "I'm downriver." Like that explained everything. He never said a name. He didn't look at my face much. His eyes kept drifting past me. Phone on the table. Keys. Laptop. Half-open backpack. The hallway to the bedroom. He repeated the same questions in slightly different ways. How long was I staying? Was I alone? Did anybody know exactly where the place was? Did I like to hike by myself? Every time I answered, something in his shoulders loosened, like he was filling in blanks. I lied and said my boyfriend was coming the next day. No hosetasjen. He smiled a fraction too fast. Storm rolling in. River rises fast. Folks get swept, he said. He watched my reaction more than the sky. I said thanks, tried to sound casual, and walked him back toward the door like I had any control over where he went. He paused on the threshold and did one more slow scan of the room. Then he stepped off the deck and vanished into the trees. I never heard a car leave. I spent the next hour pretending to write and actually replaying every second of that visit. Then I tried the owner's number. Straight to voicemail. I packed my laptop and charger, stood there with my keys in my hand, then put them down again like an idiot. I told myself I was paranoid, that he was just a rude local, that I'd wasted money if I left. Fear and pride are a nasty combo. The storm arrived that evening like someone flipped a switch. Sky went dark. Wind hit the cabin in hard bursts. Rain hammered the roof so loud I had to raise my voice to talk to myself. Then the power cut. One soft click, then nothing. The cabin went black except for my phone's flashlight. I sat at the table with the kitchen knife beside it, hating how cliché it looked, but not moving it away. The river sounded closer. Not just noise now, but a physical thing pushing at the edge of the world. Then someone hit the back door. 3 heavy bangs. Not a knock, a test. The back door faced the river. I'd barely looked at it since I arrived. "River's coming up," the neighbor yelled. "Gotta get you out." My brain heard the words. My body heard something else. Every hair on my arm stood up. I shouted that I'd wait until morning, that I was fine, that I didn't want to walk in the dark. He started swearing. Called me a stupid bitch. Said the whole place would go, that I'd be pieces by dawn. Each insult came with another slam into the door. The frame shuddered. I pictured that cheap twist lock on the other side bending, then snapping. While he tried the back, I ran to the front, threw the deadbolt, shoved a chair under the knob. I knew it wouldn't really hold if he hit it, but I needed one more layer. The cabin was tiny. There was nowhere to disappear. Bedroom, bathroom, that was it. I went for the bathroom window. Small, crank style. Not meant for people. I forced it open as far as it would go, scraped my arms on the frame, and wriggled through. Dropped into cold mud behind the cabin, breath knocked out of me. Inside would cracked. The sound of a door giving up. His boots hit the floorboards. He moved slower now. No jilling. Just calling my name in a steady voice, like he was walking down grocery aisles looking for the right brand. I scrambled down the slope on hands and knees, sliding more than walking, grabbing roots, tearing skin off my palms. Every step felt loud. I kept expecting his light to hit my back. I reached the car, ducked behind it, and pressed myself to the cold metal. My clothes stuck to me, soaked and gritty. Up the hill, his flashlight beam drifted through the cabin, room by room. He opened cupboards, checked under the bed, looked into spaces I couldn't even fit in. He didn't rush. That was the worst part. He had a script in his head. He'd never come to rescue me from anything. The storm was cover noise. The river was a prop. I knew that with his flat, clean certainty that made me want to scream. When the light swept into the bedroom, I moved. I yanked the driver's door open, dove in, hit the lock, and jammed the key into the ignition with shaking hands. The engine coughed, then caught. The sound might as well have been a flare. He bolted out the front door, beams swinging wild, and ran at the car. For a second, his face filled the window. Soaked beard, wide eyes, pure rage. Not worry, not concern, just anger that I wasn't where he'd left me. I floored it. The tires spun in mud. The car slid sideways, engine whining. His hand smacked the side mirror so hard it snapped, plastic cracking. Then the tires found gravel, and the car jumped forward. He shrank in the mirror, still running, then vanished in the dark. Half a mile down the road, a section of the shoulder was gone, eaten out. The river frothed right at the edge. If I'd waited like he wanted, I'd have had to turn around. Back to him. I drove to the first gas station with lights and people, stumbled inside, and begged to use their phone because mine was dead. I could barely get the words out. The clerk called the sheriff for me. Next day, they took me back. Daylight didn't help much. The cabin stank of wet wood and dirt. Muddy boot prints tracked through every room, including on the bed. On the kitchen table, he'd made a little arrangement. My toothbrush, my underwear, and the nail clippers from the bathroom. Lined up in a row. Not stolen. Displayed. Like he'd started a collection. The deputies asked the usual bullshit. Why I was alone, why I didn't leave after he showed up, whether maybe he'd really just wanted to warn me about the flood. I kept staring at that neat little row of my stuff and try not to throw up. They went to his place downriver. I stayed in the car. One deputy came back out and puked in the yard, hand on his knees. The sheriff told me they'd found Polaroids of other women on that same deck. Different faces, same rail, same cheap plastic chairs. Some smiling like it was still a fun trip. Some not. No charges stuck, at least not then. Jurisdiction games, rental paperwork in someone else's name, chain of evidence issues. All the phrases that mean, he walks, you live scared. I stopped checking for updates. I just stopped going anywhere that advertised secluded. Now when people talk about escaping to a quiet cabin by the river, I change the subject. Out here, the river isn't the only thing waiting to rise up and swallow you. I almost killed a man on Highway 101, and I still don't know if he was the worst thing out there that night. I was driving back from Aberdeen to Portland after some bullshit work thing. Rain hammering the windshield, wipers losing the race. It was past midnight, empty highway, just that tunnel of fir trees and the white fog line under my headlights. I wasn't drunk, just wired and exhausted in that way where the road starts to feel like a treadmill and you're the one slipping. The fog rolled in so fast it felt wrong. 1 second, I saw reflectors. The next, it was like someone smeared grease over my eyes. My GPS dropped signal. The radio turned to static, then went dead. No bars on my phone. The world shrank to that cone of light and the hiss of rain. I slowed down, leaned forward, fingers locked around the wheel. Every few seconds, the tires buzzed on the rumble strip, and my heart jumped. The forest disappeared. Even the sky felt gone, like I was underground. I kept thinking, if I break down here, nobody finds me till morning. If they find me at all. That's when I saw the shape in the road. At first, I thought it was a deer or a branch. Then it unfolded, stood, turned into a person. Long coat, hood up, one arm out, thumb up like some hitchhiker movie poster. Right in the middle of my lane, not on the shoulder, not waving for help, just planted there like a checkpoint. My brain yelled, keep driving, but my foot hit the brake. I stopped maybe 10 feet away. The car rocked. I laid on the horn. The figure didn't even twitch. Just stood there, head tilted down, hood shadowing the face. I hit the high beams. Light washed over him and spilled past. And that's when I saw movement behind me. Not in front, behind. The headlights showed me the second pair of legs behind mine. For a second, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then I glanced at the rearview mirror and felt everything in me drop. Through that fog, behind my car, another vehicle sat in the lane. No headlights, no hazards. I saw the outline of a hood and two tiny red points of light in the windshield where cigarettes burned. They'd crept up without lights while I stared at the guy in the road. The one in front of me slowly lifted his head like it was heavy. His hood slipped back just enough for me to see his face. He was grinning. Not nervous, not relieved, just smug, like he'd rehearsed this moment. His eyes looked past the glass, straight at mine, like we were already in some agreement and I hadn't signed it yet. Something finally snapped in me. Whatever pity I had, whatever maybe he needs help, just burned out. I slammed it into reverse and stomped the gas. The car behind me lurched. I hit it hard enough to rattle my teeth. Metal screamed. My rear window exploded into a spiderweb of cracks. My body whiplashed into the seat, horn blaring under my chest. I dropped into drive and swung the wheel left around the hitchhiker. As I passed him, he smacked the side of my car with his hand, hard, like he was pissed I'd figured it out. I felt the impact through the frame. I clipped him, saw his knee buckle and his body drop in the side mirror before the fog swallowed him. The sedan I'd hit skidded sideways and blocked both lanes for a heartbeat. Then its headlights finally snapped on, high beams blasting white, and it straightened and came after me. I drove like I wanted to rip the road in half. The car shuddered every time I hit a patch of water. I hugged the white line because it was the only thing I trusted. My hand shook on the wheel. Every time I thought I'd lost them, the mirror filled with those twin suns of light again, pinned to my bumper like they were tied to me. They never got too close, never dropped too far back. Just stayed there, perfect distance like a dog herding me. At one open stretch, they pulled into the oncoming lane and crept up beside me. I glanced over. The driver was just a dark shape under a baseball cap, hands steady on the wheel. No gesturing, no yelling, no middle finger. The passenger was a shape turned toward me. I couldn't see a face, but I could feel them watch me, and that felt worse than any threat. The sedan edged closer, pushing me toward the guardrail. Beyond that was just black. I could already picture my car flipping over, glass and steel, and my body tossed like laundry down the ravine. My tires buzzed on the rumble strip, and I yanked the wheel back, heart slamming against my ribs. We did that for miles, him nudging, me dodging, the fog opening in short, ugly bursts to show me just enough of the drop. Somewhere between one curve and the next, a calm thought slid in under the panic. If I keep doing exactly what he wants, I die. So I did the only thing I could think of that he couldn't predict. I hit the brakes as hard as I could and yanked the wheel right. My car fishtailed, swung around, and slammed nose first into the ditch instead of the ravine. Airbags exploded in my face, white and stinking of chemicals. Something in my neck popped. I bit through my tongue. Metal crumpled like a soda can. My body snapped forward and then back into the seat. Through the cracked windshield, through more fog and rain, I saw the other car overshoot the curve. Its brake lights flared red for a second, then vanished like someone switched them off. No crash, no scream of metal, no splash, nothing. Just my hazard lights clicking and the storm beating on the roof. I sat there with the airbags deflating around me, shaking so hard I could hear my teeth hit. Every set of headlights I imagined in the fog belonged to them coming back on foot. The guy from the road dragging his leg, the others with whatever they had planned if I'd opened my door instead of my bumper. It took about an hour before a logging truck came crawling past. The driver saw my car jammed in the ditch and radioed it in. When the trooper showed up, I tried to explain. He gave me that tired, long night, look, suggested I might have dozed off. Then he walked the road and saw the tire tracks. Mine, wild and frantic. Another set behind and beside, clean and deliberate. He shut up after that, but I could tell he still didn't buy all of it. None of it ended in a wreck. No gouge in the guardrail, no broken trees, no oil slick. Just my car and those marks. No bodies turned up, no dark sedan down the slope. Nothing on the news about a missing carload of assholes. The trooper shrugged and said, "Could have been a local messing with you." Like that made any fucking sense. You don't almost run someone off a mountain for a prank. I still replay it in my head. The way they set it up, so clean. One guy in the road to make you stop. One car behind to block you in. No lights at first. Fog so thick you'd never know you were boxed until you were already trapped between them. It felt practiced. Not their first time. Some nights, driving home across the Fremont Bridge, rain in the headlights, I'll catch a figure on the shoulder and feel my ankle twitch toward the brake before my brain screams no. I keep both hands death gripped on the wheel and stare straight ahead. Let them stand there. Let someone else be kind and curious. If you're in the Pacific Northwest and you see a hitchhiker in the fog with no other cars around, keep going. If that was you out there on 101, standing dead center in the lane with your creepy little grin, stay in your fucking fog. Let's never share a road again.